Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today we are not doing any Doordash or anything. We're just going to kind of give you guys a little update. Yesterday, we did probably the sickest music video I've ever been a part of, and I've done a lot of music videos. But this one was really cool. It was a really big budget. It was at this place called like the Cleveland, some kind of center or something. It's this crazy looking building that's like in Las Vegas, and you pass by and you're like, what is in there? And we shot a music video in there yesterday. It was dope. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to share any clips yet because that's how music videos work, but very soon you will see some clips. Today I wanted to talk a bit about leadership, a post I made last night. Might have had a few drinks in me when I made that post, but I still kind of stand behind what it was, and it was basically a picture of Zelensky, who's the president of the Ukraine, standing there in body armor, still in his country. And I said something along the lines of Biden still on Pluto, trying to figure out how to form sentences. And I hate to say it, but that's actually pretty true. This guy can barely form sentences, let alone lead a country. And that's my opinion. And you are entitled to have a different opinion than me. And I really don't give a shit if it's Republican or a Democrat. I just want someone who is a great leader. And it's very hard to find those people in politicians, because politicians aren't leaders. They're not leaders. They're not like doing the hard work. They're literally trying to like persuade people to just vote for them. That's what their job is. And that's not a leader, in my opinion, which is why I don't ever want a politician to be in charge of our country, you know? I want a strong-minded individual. And this guy, Zelensky, who's the president of Ukraine, is really showing that by not abandoning his country. Like, for example, Trudeau in Canada did when the truck drivers were having a parade, basically. Like, he fled and like went into hiding. Or like the Afghanistan president, or whatever you call him over there, president fled the country before the Taliban even started, before they even started engaging in combat and invading. So of course the Afghans, whether they were going to fight back or not, it makes it obvious that they are going to give up, basically. If their leader gives up, then you're going to give up. And we've all been in that work situation where your leader sucks. The guy in charge just sucks. He's not a good leader. He doesn't have good work ethic. He tells you to go do something that he wouldn't do. Now, as a leader, you have to you have to set an example. You lead by example. And we see way too often people who are just power hungry and don't set an example. Like, personally, I lead lots of people, large amounts of people all the time. Just for example, yesterday in the music video, I was the stunt coordinator. I was in charge of like 20 different people, camera people, directors, BMX riders, a whole handful of assistants that were just helping us move stuff around. And as the leader, I have to set an example. If I'm telling people, hey, we need you guys to move these ramps and like go do this, instead of saying, hey, I need you guys to move these ramps and stuff, I'm gonna say, hey, can we go move these ramps? I'm gonna help you guys. Like, I don't even need to say that I'm gonna help you guys. I'm just gonna be there and I'm gonna be doing it. I'm going to be the hardest working person, and I guarantee if you ever work with me, you will see that no one is going to outwork me. And that is how I lead. I lead by example. And a lot of great leaders do the exact same thing. Whether or not Zelensky is fighting with an M16 on the front lines, which honestly would be very stupid because he is like the one true hope for that country, you know? He's the guy leading the country. You would never want him on the front lines. But he's setting an example by staying there, by being with the people and not aborting mission and getting out of there and protecting himself in a bunker like most leaders that we see nowadays probably would. And what I meant by that was like, that's what I would think Biden would do. He'd be in a freaking bunker hidden somewhere. That's just my opinion, you know? And I personally do not like being led by not strong leaders. And this is a big reason behind my entrepreneurship and why I'm so motivated to be an entrepreneur, because I don't want people to tell me what to do. I don't want anyone to be in charge of me. The last time I had a boss was like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a defining moment where I was like, I can't do this again. And I hate to break it to you guys, but I think Tony Zhu is a great leader. And whether you agree with me or not, he does go out there and he does do those DoorDashes every once in a while. It's not like he has the time to go and be a full-time dasher. That'd be moronic for him to go out there and be DoorDashing all day long. He's running a billion-dollar corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation. He's got shit to do. I run a business that's not even a tenth of that or a percentage of that, and it takes up my entire time. But when I'm leading people, if I'm telling people to, like, this is just my opinion from someone who's constantly being put in charge as a leader. This is just my opinion. I do think Tony Zhu is a great leader, and I've heard him speak before. He's very intelligent, and he is on top of his stuff, and he forces his people to at least do one DoorDash a month. That is phenomenal leadership. Whether you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. This is just my opinion. This is very important when you're leading, you know? If we're doing a BMX show and I'm telling my guys like, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, they're going to be complaining like, fucking Tanner wants us to do this. Why doesn't he do it himself? You know, all that kind of stuff, you know? And maybe I probably have something better to do at the time, like something more important, maybe choreographing or setting up the music for the show or something like that. There's always things, but I'm going to make sure if there's hard labor that's going on, I'm going to be the guy who's leading it and in charge and doing the most out of it so no one has an excuse. And we've all been in positions or like jobs or something where you know your leader or manager is not going to do that kind of stuff. And it's just a downer because, you know, they're bossing you around and stuff. The term bossing you around, if you're bossing someone around, you already lost. You are not a good leader. You should not be in that position. You are not leading with power. You are leading by force. There's a difference between leading by force and power. Power, you don't need to tell someone you're in charge. They know you're in charge because you set a good example. Force means you need to tell people, hey, I'm in charge. Do what I say. Very authoritative. Do what I say or else. That's not a strong leader, and no one wants to be led by that. And I don't know, I just felt like I needed to make this video because so many people commented and were like, he's not on the front lines. You don't actually think he's standing out there. I'm like, I don't need him to be standing out there to see that this guy is a great leader. He's in his country. He didn't flee. He has the biggest target on his back out of anyone in the world right now. They're literally trying to kill this guy. That's their goal. And he stayed in the country. He didn't flee and hide to a bunker or something. He's still there. So, in my opinion, that's great leadership. And a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I truly think that Tony Zhu is a great leader. And so far, what I've seen from him, there's not a lot of things that I would disagree with. And there's not, like, whether we like it or not, he's running a business the way the business needs to be run. And you can't really say he doesn't know what he's doing. You can't really say what he's doing is dumb because they took over the delivery market, you know? His company is doing super well. Whether it's profitable, whether it's not, they take up 50% of one of the biggest industries in 2022. Whether you like him or not, you have to acknowledge the fact that he's done a great job with the company. It's just the truth, in my opinion. You know, you can disagree, you can agree. Let me know an example of someone who is a poor leader or someone who is a great leader, someone who stood out in your life. Comment down below. I want to hear the stories from you guys, from your guys' perspective. Because I specifically, like, one of the worst leaders I ever had was when I worked at BJ's back in Arcadia, and this guy was just bossing us around all the time. And I specifically remember there was 2 managers I would always work for. One of them would be out there bussing the tables with us, you know? I was a host at the time, and I would always make sure that I would go and help the bussers and stuff whenever they needed it, you know? If I was just standing around, I'd go out there and work extra just to show that I wanted to move up. And I specifically remember no one wanted to work under this one guy. I think his name was Matt. I can't remember because honestly, he didn't deserve to stick in my brain. He would just boss us around, and then we'd go sit in the back office, and he would never be up there. And then there was this other guy, Jerry. Jerry was a phenomenal leader. He would always be out there. He'd be funny. Everyone liked working with this guy because he was a great leader, and he would be out there busting the tables, you know, in his freaking like suit that he would wear every single day, you know. So those are like an example for me of someone who was a great leader, and then the polar opposite, someone was a poor leader. No one wanted to work for the poor leader ever. But anyways, just wanted to make a video on this because personally I've read at least 5 books on leadership. I've read Leading at, just the most recent 2 I've read that really stood out to me was Extreme Ownership, which is owning everything that happens under your control. If you're the person in control, you need to own everything that happens. You could have prevented it. If you're the guy in charge, you could have prevented it. Don't blame people. The person who's blaming people, no one wants to be around that person, and that is not a strong leader, in my opinion. You should never blame people. If you're the leader, it's your fault. Something happened. Whether you could always prevent something if you are the person in charge. Whether it's a fight that breaks out between 2 employees and you weren't even there, it's still your fault. You could have seen this coming, you know. Whether it could have, sometimes they aren't avoidable though. Sometimes it is maybe out of your control, but you need to own the fact that that happened under your belt and you can avoid it in the future by making adjustments. And then another one is leading at a higher level, and that's just basically going over what I kind of just talked about, setting an example, leading by power. Power versus Force is another phenomenal book as well. It's very hard to listen to because the reader sucks though, so I wouldn't suggest it to you guys. You can kind of get the gist of the book from what I just gave you guys. Anyways, some of you guys are going to hate me for saying Tony Zhu is a great leader. I personally, as someone who's been in charge of many people before, I don't really see anything that he does that I don't agree with. I think we can all agree the fundamentals of the delivery business and how it's constantly like not really caring about you, giving you $2 orders and stuff. The fact of the matter is people are going to take that, and the fact of the matter is it's a job that frankly literally just about anyone can do. So that's why they run the business that way. And it's not meant to be a job where you're going to turn into a CEO or like move up the ladder or something. You know, we all know that's not a part of this job. It's a transitionary job and it should be treated that way. The only thing that I would suggest to Tony Zhu, or that I would disagree with, I think he should advertise that, you know. It's the ultimate transitionary job for someone who is in between jobs or looking for like a sustainable income that can like get them through a few months while they find a new job or something, you know. That's the only thing. Like, I just wish they were more transparent about that, and like to really tell people like, hey, anyone can do this job, you know. Like, don't rely on this, you know. No one should rely on this, and that's the whole point of my channel. I have a YouTube channel that's basically, I'm trying to be like the Paul Revere and tell you guys, hey, don't rely on this as a source of income. Like, it's a great secondary source of income or third source of income, but you should not rely, like, this is not a job, you know. It's an opportunity. And my podcast is basically very similar to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is dedicated towards basically gig drivers and independent contractors and new entrepreneurs, because I've been there before. My my podcast is basically the same thing, because I see the exact same thing with acrobats. And acrobats, they want to work for Cirque du Soleil. They want to do this and that. But then they get fired. They lose their job and they're stuck with no source of income. And they have to realize they're just another number. That's why I have my podcast, to teach people that there's other ways of making money in the entertainment industry. I have 2 great sources of income in the entertainment industry that I don't need to be the acrobat. But if I want to be the acrobat, I can also be the acrobat and I can perform. So that's my podcast. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's called the Off Axis Podcast, and it's basically the same thing as the delivery channel that you guys are watching now, but it's geared towards acrobats and entrepreneurs and other very similar things. And we talk like that one. Frankly, we get way more into detail, and it's much less censored than on YouTube, because obviously YouTube does not want me to say certain things. So I try to keep it more PG on YouTube. But Spotify, it's all gone. Like, the reins are off. Anyway, so go check out my podcast. It's called the Off Axis Podcast. Make sure there's someone else created an Off Axis podcast. It's super annoying, but mine's the one with like the acrobats and flipping around and stuff in the main picture. So anyways, it's down in the description. We'll see you guys in the next one. Don't hate me for saying Tony Xu's a great leader. that's my opinion. I haven't seen anything that has made me disagree. And I personally think that President Zelensky is he's like a shining light that is great for people to follow, and I've seen nothing but great things out of him so far, And fuck you, Putin, for literally, this whole mess is preposterously ridiculous and out of nowhere, Anyways, it's super sad to see that we're basically, in this gigantic war and stuff. We aren't, but anyways, I'm going to wrap up today's video right there. There's a nice ramble. We will see you guys in the next one. Yeah, comment down below. Let me know you guys' story of a good or bad leader that you guys can remember. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Drive safe. Peace.